Tom Jensen here, Unique Talk 115, 63 degrees downtown Denver, joined at the mic with Susan Whitkin, who you're no stranger to Western swing music.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you tell me what the difference is between Western swing and country Western music?
No,
Okay.
I really can't tell you those intricacies.
Well, we have Cowboy Joe himself here.
Good.
A man who was so moved. Now, this guy is a New Yorker.
Mm.
And it was out in a Colorado University and heard this piece of music, and he's doing a radio show now out in New York.
Let me tell you, some of the biggest cowboys that I know, real live cowboys, grew up on the New Jersey beach as surf boys. So I'm not surprised.
This is a woman who doesn't have a B extension on her flute. Okay. And without any further ado, Paul Aaron, welcome to 85 KOA.
Well, thank you. It's kind of a homecoming. I have to correct a couple of things that have been said.
Oh, gosh, let's get to it right now.
Okay, well, I mean, Susan mentioned Bob Wills, and of course he's the king of what's known as Western swing. However, people like Lefty Frizzell and Patsy Cline are strictly what you would call hardcore country.
And that upsets you, doesn't it, when people glop all those people together?
Oh, I get upset when the New York media does it because it just shows most of their ignorance, because most people in New York don't know the difference between country and Western and pop music and John Denver and Hank Williams and Bob Wills.
Okay, so what's the difference then between, you said Bob Wills is Western swing.
Western swing, but then see, country music envelops all the genres of country music, whether it's bluegrass. Bluegrass is a form of country music. Cajun music from Louisiana is a form of country music. Western swing is a form of country music. Cowboy ballads or Western music is also goes back to the country tradition, and all of this goes back further yet to Irish music and English ballads, Elizabethan ballads, and of course then from Elizabethan ballads we go up to the Appalachian Mountains where bluegrass and old-timey music. So when people say, I just go bananas when people say country and Western music, because it doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah, because those are two different things. Where did you're mentioning all these other places with these other genres of the music? Where did Western swing get started?
The Western swing came from Texas and Oklahoma, and if we take someone like Bob Wills, he was influenced by all kinds of music. He was into jazz, he was into blues, he was into country fiddling, and all those strains of music influenced him in really developing the genre called Western swing. Some people call it Texas swing.
I guess I think of the Sons of the Pioneers, that would be a typical, definitive Western swing group, right?
No, it's not. If you want to be academic about it.
Not really, but...
Right. Neither do I. But Sons of the Pioneers are known as a cowboy group. They're the leading exponents of what's known as Western music, just as Gene Autry and Roy Rogers are considered the kings of cowboy music. The Sons of the Pioneers are the leading Western group of the past. Now, a group like Riders in the Sky, who I understand will be in Fort Collins on June 12th. I just saw them recently in the Bottom Line in New York. They are probably the leading and the best exponents of Western music. Although they do Western swing, they primarily do cowboy music, cowboy ballads and up-tempo type things. So, country music is not just country and Western. There's just so much involved. And frankly, I'm more into Western swing and cowboy honky-tonk music. Now, even that's a distinction.
It's really coming back now, isn't it? Big time.
Well, cowboy honky-tonk is like hardcore honky-tonk. They're not beer-drinking zones per se, but they have Western themes like about rodeos and the cowboy lifestyle, kind of stuff that I like. And for me, my radio show in New York, Cowboy Joe's Radio Ranch, incorporates Western swing, cowboy, and cowboy honky-tonk rodeo interviews. And then we get to the theme song, Ragtime Cowboy Joe. Now, you had mentioned Colorado University.
Right.
Now, come on. CU is in Boulder. That's a proper school. We're talking about CSU, the old Aggie school.
Oh, my gosh. Of course.
Right. Okay, that's in Fort Collins.
Now, who...
I went to school there for a year.
Do you remember this song?
What?
I'm asking Susan, do you remember this song?
No, what?
With the song Cowboy Joe?
Well...
No.
Where's Susan from originally?
Born and raised in Denver, Colorado.
Okay, well...
She's wearing jeans as we speak.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to educate you, Susan. I mean, I first heard that song, Cowboy Joe, when I went up in a blinding blizzard between Fort Collins and Laramie on 287. I'm not how many years ago, because I was kind of debating.
Probably just last year, wasn't it? I remember that blizzard.
Oh, okay, then you've got me pegged. Anyway, I drove up to Laramie, and, you know, I didn't know anything. You know, I went to CSU because I wanted to be a pre-vet major. I was from New Jersey at the time, and as soon as I saw them castrate a couple of bulls, I decided that pre-vet medicine or vet medicine wasn't for me, because I kind of thought I'd take care of nice cats and dogs.
So instead, you got your master's degree in psychology. Now you're in New York, and you're doing a cowboy show for the last 10 years. You don't even get paid for this show.
Well, I did get paid when I syndicated through NPR, but I'm mostly on public radio. But see, that's a whole other can of worms. We got to get straight the song.
I'll tell you, we're going to get... Now, do you have a copy of this song queued up that we can hear over the radio, or are you going to sing it for us?
Well, I could sing it. Now, don't you have a tape on it? Didn't I send you a tape?
I do not have a tape here. I've got a sheaf of materials that show this guy who doesn't look like a cowboy, but wears cowboy clothes.
Yeah, I definitely do, and I horseback ride, and I'm into the Western lifestyle, and I've been in Wyoming, and I picked up 3 pair of Wrangler cowboy cut jeans that you can't get back in New York. I picked them up at a couple of flea markets, and they're in perfect shape.
Well, I just have a pair of Lee jeans, and I also got a new pair of Tony Lamas.
These people out west don't wear Lee jeans. That's an Eastern.
No.
Wearing 501 Levi's in New York, that's all they know is Western.
I'm wearing my real Lee jeans and my new Tony Lamas.
Okay, well, Tony Lamas just...
Okay, enough of this. Listen, in a moment, I'm going to let you either sing...
We're one up.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you sing. I'm going to either sing or play this tune for us, this tune that was your really...
okay, but you got to ask me how that's... Okay, you got to ask me how that song evolved.
Well, how did it evolve?
Thank you. That's not a... Despite what people in Wyoming think, that Cowboy Joe or Ragtime Cowboy Joe was written for them, that's a New York song. That song was written in Brooklyn, New York, back in 1912,
Sure.
by a vaudeville songwriting team that was also responsible for the song Secondhand Rose. Okay? Now, the guy for whom that song was written about, Joe Abrahams, he was on my show years ago, and he's got the thickest Brooklyn accent.
Huh.
It's unbelievable.
You also have an accent. When you do your program...
I don't say I live on Thoryd and Thoryd Avenue.
Yeah, but you don't sound like you're from Fort Worth, I'll tell you that.
I mean, I can pretend I'm from Texas if I want, because I was down in Texas last year, and I participated in a roping down in Houston, and I got some really good interviews with working cowboys down there that were really off the wall, and some of them, quite frankly, were X-rated, which I got, by the way, today I recorded some interviews with some young cowboys up here that were pretty off the wall, and that's what I like to do. I like to combine Western music with interviews with cowboys.
Okay. Okay.
Western lifestyle, so it all goes hand in hand.
We're talking to Paul Aaron, who's kind of an eccentric, I guess you might say, you might call yourself. If you have a question or a comment for Paul, who's been doing this Cowboy Joe's Radio Ranch for the last 10 years, and you have maybe a thought on Western music, this is your hour. 861-8255, our number, 861-TALK. If you're outside of Colorado, area code 303. In a moment, we're going to hear the song rendered by Paul Aaron, alias Cowboy Joe, as we continue on Unique Talk on 85 KOA.
The chest cough. Heavy. Full. For relief, feel the strength of Benylin Expectorant from the makers of Benylin. Relieve your cough and help clear your chest. Strength you can feel. Twice the expectorant of the leading brand. Benylin Expectorant from Park Davis. Our strength is your relief. Use as directed for coughs due to colds.
A story of success in entrepreneurship. For another view of starting your business, join me, Dr. Ann Welch-Carroll, on Career Line, Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. on News Radio 85 KOA, Denver.
It takes hours fine-tuning your skills to become a professional. At the Farmers Insurance Group of Companies, thousands of dedicated professionals are constantly fine-tuning their skills to give you the best coverage for your insurance needs. Now, isn't that music to your ears? America can depend on farmers, and they have for over 60 years. Just check your phone book to locate the professional farmer's agent nearest you.
25 minutes after the hour of 1, Tom Jensen here on Unique Talk. Joining me, of course, is Cowboy Joe. Now, if you've got... Yeah, I expect the rest of the interview to be done in a Western accent here.
No, it'll have to be, see, I live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and I take the IRT West Side subway, so I am in the heart of the West in New York.
Uh-huh. Now, let me ask you this. Do people kind of look at you rather strangely as you prance around in your cowboy hat and your
Wrangler cowboy cut jeans and my roper boots and my big belt buckle sometimes, but, you know, I've learned to live with it. That's part of the price of being a martyr in New York for the cause of the Western lifestyle.
Now, since you don't get paid all the big bucks for this radio show that you've been doing for 10 years, how do you support yourself?
Well, I have a regular day job down in the Wall Street area, but let me tell you something.
Now, what's the day job? Now, quickly.
Well, you know, I involved in business communication systems. That's
Okay.
a very...
Do you look like a cowboy when you do that?
Yeah, well, I always wear my jeans and my Wrangler. I mean, you know, my Wrangler cowboy cuts and my boots.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't part with them at all.
So you're saying if a cowboy out here in the West is wearing anything other than Wranglers, he and or she is a bogus,
And a cowboy.
yeah.
Got to be cowboy cuts, because they had Wranglers back in New York, but they're the sissy kind.
Now, you know, we have the National Rodeo stock show, which
Yeah.
is one of the biggest around here in the winter here in Denver. And I think, as I think back, I've seen a lot of denim-clad people in things other than Wranglers.
But they ain't cowboys.
861-8255. You're hearing it from a man who should know because he's calling from Manhattan.
Right about it. No,
861-TALK.
I'm calling from, remember, I'm not calling from Manhattan, I'm calling from Cheyenne, Wyoming.
You're in Cheyenne right now.
You thought I was in New York?
I thought you were in New York.
Hey, Tom. I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
What are you doing in Cheyenne, Wyoming?
That's another story, Tom. There'll be a big story on me in the Sunday Rocky Mountain News that was already written by John Enslin, so you folks in Denver might check hopefully the Sunday Rocky Mountain News.
Okay, well, we'll definitely do that. You're in Cheyenne. All right.
In
Okay.
Cheyenne,
Now,
I am in Cheyenne to interview working cowboys. I want to do a lot of cowboying out here riding, and hopefully get some interviews. I've been tailed by NBC. The Today Show is putting something together on me for the Today Show, and it's ironic that I'll be interviewing people while people are trying to interview me.
a little quick aside, and there's no charge for this. If you see a cowboy that's big and burly in Cheyenne, and he is not wearing Wranglers, let it go.
It ain't me.
Okay. Now, what's the song? Let's hear the song that changed your life many years ago.
Okay, and then I'm going to have to give my P.O. box where people can write to me in New York, because I'd love to hear from people in the Rocky Mountain area.
We'll definitely give that.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Do you want me to do the Wyoming version or the Arizona version?
Well, I hear sometimes you play this song 10 times on a program.
Okay. Well, see, that's the thing. I don't play Ragtime Cowboy Joe in the beginning. I play 4 songs, and then I hit him with a sledgehammer. I'll play different versions of Ragtime Cowboy Joe every week. But one thing that's constant,
Yeah.
I play the Wyoming band doing Cowboy Joe, and I sing along.
I'd like to hear that.
Well, I don't have the Wyoming band here, but maybe there's some Wyoming people.
This is
No,
Paul
I
Aaron.
ashamed of myself, a former CSU student being obsessed by the Wyoming Cowboy Joe, which is really a Brooklyn song, but here it goes. I'll sing the Wyoming version.
I'd like that.
He always sings wagon music to the cattle as he swings, back and forward in the saddle on a horse, pretty good horse. Got a syncopated gator, and you ought to hear the meter to the wolf is repeater, how they run. Yes, run, roar, when they hear him come, because the Western folks all know he's a highfalutin, rootin' toot, son of a gun from old Wyoming, ragtime cowboy, or New Jersey for that matter. Ragtime cowboy, talk about your cowboy, ragtime cowboy Joe. See, that song is war. You play that at CSU or Fort Collins, and they will throw things at you. War is committed.
They really get angry in Fort Collins when they hear that song.
I mean, the rivalry between CSU and Wyoming is famous, and I talk about it on my radio show in New York, and people in New York can't understand that 2 state universities, 65 miles apart out west, is like being next door.
I wasn't aware of it either. 861-8255, the number. I'm not even aware of this rivalry.
Tom, how long have you been in Denver?
4 or 5 years.
Why do I know all this? Because
I don't know why you know all this. I can't understand why you know all this. I can't understand you've been...
I just happen to know the important things in life.
I can't understand you've been playing this song 10 times a week for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's just an obsession of mine. I can't get that. I have listeners in New York who tell me they can't stop singing that song after they listen to my show. My show is very well received in bookstores, on Park Avenue, on Fifth Avenue. We get within 100 miles of New York and Pennsylvania. And I have these trail rides, Tom, which you forgot to ask me about.
Well, I haven't forgotten. I'm modulating this interview.
Okay. Well, I can help you a little bit with
Well,
it.
I'd like that.
Okay. We have these Cowboy Joe trail rides where we take listeners horseback riding 85 miles from New York, actually in Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia, in a 2,000-acre park. And we ride, Tom. We have a cowboy good time out there. I own 3 Western saddles, and some of our best riders.
Yeah.
Sure, we don't have a trail guide. We have great horses, and it's a requirement that people have to sing Ragtime Cowboy Joes with cantering. It has a certain rhythm that goes well with riding.
And you sing it over and over again?
Yeah, especially when I'm in a good mood. And, well, something I just lost it there. I can't think.
Well, while you're thinking of that, why don't you live out here?
Well, that's the thing. People are saying that if I moved out here, whether it be Texas or Wyoming or Colorado, what would be the shtick? Do people in Colorado know what shtick means? That's the thing.
Well, I'm sure they do, but the point is, I would imagine you might pick up a job out here.
Well, that is possible.
You're not getting paid for it out there.
Well, but there's a certain missionary quality to what I'm doing. But frankly, I don't think I would get the media attention that I would if I were out here. But I'll tell you one thing.
I think anybody who sings that song 10 times a week for the last 10 years, no matter where you live.
Well, sure, I could be in Jersey, which I am anyway. But the thing is, I like it out here, to be serious. I like the quiet. I love the beauty of the Rockies. And quite frankly, when I get to the point, and I've gotten to that point, where I just say that New York is not worth it. First of all, New York, you have to have a special personality to survive in that city because it's too hectic, it's too competitive, and people in New York are as ignorant sometimes. They can be as parochial as any small town hick. Mm-hmm. Really. One of my favorite songs...
Have you ever been beaten up by another cowboy?
No, but I get calls from New Yorkers to say, what right do you have to criticize New York? And I tell them, first of all, I'm from New York originally, and I have every right to knock the city I live in. It's the world's greatest city, but there are a lot of things that I don't like about it. But one song that I play when I'm anti-New York is Buck Owens' song, I Wouldn't Live in New York City if they gave me the whole dang town. Talk about a bummer, it's the biggest one around. I always make fun of Mayor Koch, because he's no cowboy.
We're talking to Paul Aaron.
I've invited Mayor Koch to come on a trail ride, and he hasn't responded. Can you believe that?
He might. I mean, let's face it. It's a little intimidating when riding on a horse if you don't do that often.
Especially coming with me, because I'm a good rider.
Well, there you go. We're talking to Paul Aaron, who is Country Cowboy Joe and the Radio Ranch.
Country Joe, DJ in Salt Lake City. I don't want to be confused with him.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not confuse you. Let's not confuse you with him. This is a gentleman who's been singing the song for the last 10 years and is the definitive source on Western swing. And I'll let just cadence for a second there, big guy.
Okay.
And if you have a question for him, 861-8255, the number 861-TALK, and your most dependable weather, Paul, is on 85 KOA. More sunshine today, dry and warm, high in the upper 80s. It's going to stay sunny, dry, and very warm through Tuesday. That ought to make you happy.
Yeah. It's beautiful weather out here.
That's exactly right. And with a high near 90 on Monday and in the low 90s on Tuesday. And right now it's 63 degrees in Denver, 63 degrees in Boulder as we continue on News Radio 85 KOA Denver.
FUS spells fuss for your cat. Hello, this is Dr. Diane Hirakawa with the IAMS Pet Report. It's brought to you by IAMS Pet Foods. FUS spells fuss for your cat. FUS is feline urologic syndrome, an inflammation of the lower urinary tract. It can be life-threatening. Symptoms are difficulty in urinating, blood in the urine, and abdominal pain. To help prevent FUS, find a cat food low in magnesium and high in meat protein.
For more information on your pet and IAMS Pet Foods, call 1-800-525-IAMS. That's 1-800-525-IAMS. Or visit your local pet store. IAMS, special pet foods, found only at special stores.
Something big is happening at Sears this week. Sears Sale of Sales. A sale so big, all you have to remember is the word all. All home appliances, electronics, furniture, and bedding are on sale. That means refrigerators, microwaves, all washers, dryers, and more. All TVs, VCRs, stereos, and more. All sofas, sofa sleepers, bedroom suites, and sleep sets. But Sears Sale of Sales only lasts for 3 days, so hurry, because after Saturday, it'll all be over.
There's more for your life at Sears.
Democratic presidential candidate Lyndon LaRouche on AIDS.
If biological science does not produce a cure for this virus could make the human species extinct within 2 or 3 generations to come. We must declare war on this virus now, whatever that costs, and accept no substitutes for victory. This tiny horned virus is the most deadly enemy ever to threaten you and your family. We must make this virus and any like it totally extinct. If I'm your next president, we shall wipe this virus from the face of this planet.
Watch Democratic presidential candidate Lyndon LaRouche in a half-hour broadcast, Victory Over AIDS, 9:30 Central and Mountain, 10:30 Pacific, Saturday night on NBC, paid for by the LaRouche Democratic Campaign.
And of course, that does not reflect the editorial comment of this station, or however you say that. But he paid for that time, good old Lyndon. Right now, though, let's change gears entirely and go back to Paul Aaron, who is Cowboy Joe on the radio.
I just want to make a couple of serious points. One of them is you asked me why don't I come out to Denver or just become a commercial DJ. What I do on my show is not just play pop country. I have no desire to be what you would call your ordinary top 40 country DJ.
Well, no, you could be the next Garrison Keillor of your particular niche.
Oh, that would be something I would like to do, and hopefully with a little more exposure, which obviously this trip out to Colorado and Wyoming will give me, I'm hoping that things will get going. But basically, I mean, I'm just so unique that I can't be like those commercial DJs who all sound like they all went to the same broadcasting school and say the same things over and over again. It's boring radio, Tom. When I hear music, maybe I'm unique because I happen to feel that I'm a well-educated person. I want to be informed about the music. I want to know a little history. I want a little bit of the DJ's personality.
And, of course, you want to play that song over and over again.
I want the connection between the music and the DJ. So if I hear my music, let's say on another station, and the DJ just says, well, we heard this and this, and now we're going to hear this and this, I'll turn it off and listen to my own record collection. I want to feel empathy with the music. I think listeners should be given a lot more credit for intelligence, and I think commercial radio tends to give them a whole lot of stuff that's not very, interesting.
Do you find authentic cowboys, cowboys that you're meeting in Cheyenne, cowboys that you'd meet in Fort Collins, cowboys you'd meet in Texas, are a little distrustful of you because of your accent?
See, the thing is, all we need to do is get a couple of beers
What's your favorite beer, Paul?
I interviewed a 23-year-old cowboy outside a Western wear store in Cheyenne today, and although he wasn't drinking any beers, we kind of warmed up to each other, so that microphone wasn't so intimidating, and I got some pretty funny stuff.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, about, why cowboys wear caps and Wrangler jeans and what does a cowboy enjoy doing after work and that kind of thing. It's all kind of stuff that you kind of lead into, but you have to gain their confidence first. Now, let me just say one thing, that I would like to give out my P.O. box.
Okay, we'll do that in a minute.
Okay.
We'll give that in a minute. I'll take care of you, Paul.
Record their own homemade version of Ragtime Cowboy Joe and send it to me, though.
You would like to have people send you their version of Ragtime Cowboy Joe. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll find that. 861-8255, the number 861-TALK, if you have a little bit of cowboy folklore, perhaps, for Paul as he collects this kind of a, what would you call it, kind of a listing of different folklore.
We leave it open-minded and let people just talk and see what they want to ask me, and maybe they'll agree with what I've said, maybe not.
That's very possible. Right now, Elmo in Windsor, Colorado, you're on 85 KOA with Paul Aaron.
Paul Aaron.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Listen, I heard you talking here earlier. You talked about being a pre-vet school just over here close to me at CSU.
Right.
Getting scared when you saw them castrate a bull. Are you familiar with what Rocky Mountain oysters are?
fact, I just went to Bruce's in Severance, Colorado with a bunch of people, and I just had my first Rocky Mountain oysters, and darn it, they don't taste good.
All right. What do you think this is a delicacy that would go over in New York?
I have a song, a novelty song out of Texas called Rocky Mountain Oysters, which I played on my show. I think they would make a big hit in New York. I think that they should open up a restaurant just called Rocky Mountain Oysters. Them New Yorkers are pretty ignorant folks when it comes to Western delicacies, and I think they need a little cow manure thrown in their faces once in a while. And that would include Rocky Mountain Oysters.
Rocky Mountain.
What do you think? What do you think? I think New York could use a little more Western culture.
I'm kind of on the fence. You're going to have to convince me here, Paul. I'm not so sure.
Well, who is this? Tom?
This is Tom. This is Tom. Elmo, what do you think?
You're the host of the show. I want to hear from the listeners. They're the real people out there. I mean, after all, you've been in Denver for 4 years, and you never knew about CSU in Wyoming.
I don't keep up like I should. You're right.
Good fist fights that used to occur and all that good stuff. Anyway, let's hear from someone else.
Okay. Thank you, Elmo. Appreciate it. We're talking to Paul Aaron, who is a rather feisty cowboy. Now, how tall are you, Paul?
Oh, in my roper boots with elevator heels, let's see, I come up to like around almost 6 feet.
Almost 6 feet?
You take away the boots, and I would say about 5 feet 2.
5'2".
I'm only kidding. About 5'8", I guess.
5'8". Okay, well, you're not a big strapping
No,
kind of guy.
I'm not. No, I can wear those Wrangler cowboy cuts. I can take a 30 waist and a 34 length pretty
Okay,
well.
now who?
Cowboys wear their jeans about 4 inches longer on their boots, so when they ride, their jeans don't ride up like pedal pushers. You want them down over your darn boots, so when you're sitting on a horse, those jeans cover those boots.
Why does this sound so bogus to me? I mean, here you are in New York. Here you are
Only now, thank God.
And except for right now, I mean, most of your life you've been spent there. You're a communications person during the day, and you have this fantasy.
It's not a fantasy. I live it. I ride in Pennsylvania. I wear the Western clothes. I do my show. The only thing I don't like is the IRT subway system. Other than that, I just use my imagination when I'm there.
Well, yeah, you're fantasizing.
Yeah, but you know, it's true. It really is true that really to be happy with this whole thing, I got to be out here.
You're right. You're right. I don't understand. Let me ask you this: have you found a cowgirl yet?
Yeah, a couple in New York, actually from Colorado. Someone who used to live in Denver now works at a VA hospital in Brooklyn. She goes riding with me all the time, and one of the best riders I have is the husband of a woman who comes from Pinedale, Wyoming. We get more people who come on my rides who are outside of New York, people from Texas, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. These are the good people because they've lived the lifestyle and they can empathize with the music and the lifestyle. So I enjoy being with people who are not from New York because, quite frankly, New York cowboys drive me crazy. Because when you talk about, oh yeah, I used to cowboy, I went to a dude ranch in Peekskill, New York. What does that mean? It means that a bunch of them went horseback riding in a circle for a half hour and came back to the ranch, and they were all sweating, and they were wearing their T-shirts and their sneakers. And
okay, all right. Now let me ask you this. Originally, I'm from Minnesota. In Minneapolis in the 40s and early 50s, there was a nightclub that broadcast live radio with Bob Wills and Ernest Tubbs and the whole slew of them. And do you know the name of the establishment that used to broadcast in the 40s and 50s from Minneapolis?
No, well, no, I don't. I don't know everything.
Well, it was called the... He does not get paid for this, by the way, because it's on... He does not get paid for this, by the way, because it's on non-commercial public radio, and he's rather opinionated. Maybe you've noticed.
Yeah, I'm back.
For a gentleman who's... I'm not done ad-libbing. For a gentleman who's in New York, he has definite opinions what cowboys are and what they aren't. 861... Hello. Let me handle this.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Paul. 861-8255 if you have a question or comment for our Cowboy Joe this morning. 861-TALK. If you're a cowboy outside of Colorado and you want to enter in on this, area code 303. Now, do you want to give that P.O. box?
Yeah, I would. But seriously, if people would like to write me with comments or requests, or if they want to record their own homemade versions of Ragtime Cowboy Joe, or if they come to New York by accident and want to look me up and join a trail ride, first of all, they can listen to me on WKCR-FM 89.9.
And that's okay for us to say because this is a non-profit station.
Right. So we can do this. When I was on WMCA in New York, which is a commercial station, they still let me mention all this stuff. Okay, you can write to Cowboy Joe, that's me, or Paul Aaron, A-A-R-O-N,
right.
P.O. Box 3311, Church Street Station, New York, zip 10008. That's Cowboy Joe, P.O. Box 3311, Church Street Station, New York, zip 10008. Tom, can we get more phone calls?
Well, maybe we can, but maybe they're just so enthralled with your Eastern accent they just don't know what to do. Listen, let me ask you this.
Sure.
You've been doing this now for 10 years. Haven't you pretty much exhausted this genre? Aren't you just kind of like, you can only do it for so long, and let's face it.
No, because first of all, there are reissues of the older Western swing, and there are newer bands that are doing it, and quite frankly...
Do you know how to dance to this stuff?
Yeah, people dance.
No, but do you know how to?
Well, I can fake it. I can horseback ride better than I can Texas two-step.
Really?
Because I'm a klutz.
Oh, yeah?
Because I'm from New York. What do you want?
I don't know. Now, who's the more definitive cowboy in your mind? Would you say a Colorado cowboy or a Texan? You know, we have a big rivalry between Colorado and Texas here.
I'm aware of that. Well, like I said, I was in Texas on some ranches last year, and, you know, there is a thing. You know, you'd have to get out of Fort Collins, you'd have to get out of Denver and really get into the places like Walden, Colorado, Cortez, Colorado, where, you know, you're far away from an urban setting to observe cowboy traditions and the differences. You know, cowboys are called cowboys in some parts of the West, and then in certain parts of the West they're called buckaroo, and that kind of thing. A Texan would be insulted if you called him a buckaroo, because that's a term that cowboys use in Idaho, Oregon, Northern California. You call a cowboy a buckaroo. In Mexico, it's a vaquero. In Hawaii, a cowboy is called a pinola. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. So different terms for different things. Basically, they're all cowboys, but they use different terms. Like also with saddles, okay? I ride an A-fork or a slip-fork saddle. Those have like 5-inch cannos and a real high front. They're really deep-seated saddles. That's the only saddle I ride. I wouldn't ride a roping saddle or, you know, other kinds of saddles. So there are traditions within the West. Like you'd find an A-fork saddle more prevalent in the Rocky Mountains because you could rest your back on those saddles when you're riding up and down a mountain. So, you know, there's some things about cowboy law which I'm interested in.
How did you decide on your hat, Paul?
Well, I wear mostly roper caps and stuff like that.
You have a cap, by the way. You have a cap from Seguin, Texas. Do you know that I was employed in Seguin and San Antonio for about 3 years?
Really? Yeah, well, that's a neat place, but I have a Wyoming cap. My mission up here is to collect as many caps as possible and take them back to New York so on the subway I can show off them to people. I just got a cap from the Wyoming Stockmen's Association. I got a University of Wyoming bucking bronco cap. I've got to get a CSU cap for equal time.
I got to back up here. This woman that you met, or you got a couple women out in New York, do they share this affection for cowboy folklore like you do?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Probably not as much as me. See, I think I'm destined to suffer in New York with my dreams of the West. I just think it's sad.
No, that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's a good angle. It's a good PR hook, right, Paul?
It is, but all the PR that I've gotten, anywhere from articles in the New York Times, the Daily News, I've been on the Joe Franklin show, I was on Live at 5, I still haven't gotten anywhere, darn it.
Well, I thought there was a television show in the office.
Actually, there was an LA TV production company which actually proposed to the major networks to do a sitcom based on my role as Cowboy Joe in New York, and I think it'd be a great sitcom. All these Western adventures in an unlikely city like New York, but the networks were turned down. But you know the things, there's such turnover
Well, now, wasn't there a Western cowboy in New York that was portrayed by, who's the guy that used to be on Gunsmoke? I can't think of his name right now.
Sarnett?
No, his sidekick.
Oh, I don't know. Gabby Hayes?
No, the other guy.
I don't.
You should know this, Paul.
I don't. See, but there's a lot of things. I don't like Western novels. I don't care for Western novels.
You don't care for Zane Grey?
That's the honest truth. I don't care for most Western movies. Dennis Weaver is the answer.
Dennis Weaver, yes. There was a show with Dennis Weaver. Wasn't he supplanted in New York as a cowboy?
Oh, he might have been. I don't think he's ridden the IRT subway as much as I have, so he doesn't have the credentials.
They may have done this shtick already, Paul. You may have been 10 years after the fact.
I do. I'm from New York. I have license to say that in a certain way. You come across as a Coloradoan trying to imitate a New Yorker.
No, Paul. We'll continue with this madness, though, in a minute on News Radio 85 KOA.
Chances are no local paper or TV news bulletin satisfies your appetite. You need the depth, the breadth, the balance, and the stimulation of a first-rate international daily paper. You need the Christian Science Monitor. Yes, the Monitor. And now you can try the Monitor for 1 full month free by calling 800-228-1500. What you'll get from this Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper is first-rate reporting and analysis of national and world affairs. Concise, accurate, and comprehensive. So try the Monitor for a month free, no obligation. Then if you're not convinced, write no thanks on the bill and owe nothing. Or keep the Monitor coming for an additional 2 months for just $18, a total of 3 months, 5 issues a week at half off the regular rate. Call 800-228-1500. The Christian Science Monitor. It satisfies your hunger for the news. 800-228-1500. Toll free.
You're my ice cream dream come true. Betty Crocker, I love you. Betty, I was showing your picture to the head Ferris wheel guy at the amusement park. Squeezing on one of your new Betty Crocker soft sundaes. Loving it soft, real ice cream with rich topping throughout. Told him I was gonna make you my wife. I gave him a bite of soft sundae. He said we could ride free for life. Betty Crocker, I love you.
It felt like a blowtorch on my toes. I could turn off the heat for a while, but then it just flare up again. That athlete's foot kept flaring up, so I went to a doctor. He said get Tinactin. It's what doctors and pharmacists recommend most. Tinactin cures recurring athlete's foot. Use it regularly, like they tell you. Tinactin powder keeps the fire from coming back.
Fast-acting Tinactin.
It puts athlete's foot out for good.
63 degrees, Tom Jensen here on Unique Talk. We're talking to the host of the Ragtime Cowboy Joe's Radio Ranch. It's in its 10th year. He doesn't get paid for it. It's on WKCR-FM 89.9 on your FM at the Columbia University station. And I think I find this gentleman rather interesting. But you know, Paul, have you ever roped a calf?
I was at the roping in Houston. I was the only New Yorker invited to that.
Yeah, but did you do it?
Well, I actually roped a chair, I have to be honest.
So you've never roped a calf?
No, wait a minute. I did that in upstate New York. Yeah, I did.
They have calves in upstate New York?
I did hang a cow by mistake. I mean, I did rope a cow, but it was in New York State.
Is that where you put it upside down and you tied all its hoofs together?
Right, and that's how I got my first taste of Rocky Mountain oysters. Somehow the rope missed and went to the rear.
Oh, Paul, you've never really done that then?
Sure I have, that's right.
Paul, why is it I don't believe this?
Because, you're from Colorado.
No, I'm from Minnesota, but...
Oh, yeah, right, I can understand. You're not really...
But, I mean, to really be a cowboy, you have to rope cows, right?
Yeah, you got to rope, but the thing is, see, if we're going to get serious again, like when I was in Texas, young cowboys go out and rope on weekends like we would play softball or baseball or play tennis.
Uh-huh.
And that's part of their lifestyle, so it's part of, so where in New York can you rope on weekends?
Times Square?
No, that's the other kind of rope, and, they're tearing down 42nd Street. It's the greatest thing that ever happened in New York. Now if they would just get rid of our beloved mayor and some of the other politicians.
You're not really happy with the mayor out there?
Well, I've always hated him.
Because of the fact that he won't go riding with you?
No, he makes New New York look bad. It's just, I don't like Mayor Koch. I never have. And with the latest political stuff that went on in the New York primary, it just gives New York a horrible name. And, I never liked the man.
Well, let me ask you, now, you're out in Cheyenne right now.
Right.
There's going to be an article on you in Sunday's Rocky Mountain News.
It's written by John Enflin. Hopefully it will be in the Sunday paper, if not then Monday. But
Okay, now what are you doing in Cheyenne?
I'm staying with some mighty fine folks up here, and I'm using Cheyenne as a base of operation to go cowboying. Like tomorrow we're going to a private branding near Chugwater, and then the next day I'm going to go to a roping in Windsor, by the way, or between Cheyenne and Fort Collins. And I hope to do some riding, and I've gotten some great interviews already. And, the other element is that I'm being followed by all the media, which is kind of an interesting thing.
Why do you think that is, Paul?
Well, I think it's more fascinating for a New Yorker to come out west and try and live the cowboy lifestyle. It makes a good storyline. But that's not why I came out here. Don't forget, I used to live out here. I used to have a Colorado driver's license. I used to live in Fort Collins, although it was some time ago, and I have a lot of fond feelings.
I have a feeling you may not go back.
I don't care to, frankly, but the point is I have a lot of fond feelings for Colorado and Wyoming, and to me it's like homecoming to come here, because I used to live here, and if I could get a job here, and if I were welcomed by the people of Colorado and Wyoming, I should move out here, because I like the lifestyle better. I like it's more relaxed, less, it's more laid back. It's healthier. It's a healthier way of living. I could take less money and be happier with the lifestyle and be with people I want to be with, because I really don't like New Yorkers.
Besides yourself, who might be cataloging and chronicling Western swing music? Who's keeping the art form alive?
Well, I mean, there are certain bands and there are certain authors of books, but, if I had to bank or make a living on Western swing, I'd be in the doghouse, which I already am. See, I'm banking on my role as Cowboy Joe.
Let me ask you this. Are there any new artists on the horizon that are doing Western swing the way you'd like to see it performed? New tunes?
You might think of the old group, the old new group, Asleep at the Wheel, and let's see, there's a group from Colorado, Hot Rise, which plays bluegrass and Red Knuckles and the Trailblazers. They're from Colorado.
Now, you don't like steel guitar much, do you?
What do you mean? I hated it when I was in Fort Collins, but it's my favorite Western swing instrument.
Now it's your favorite?
I would steal one if I could get my hands on one.
Really? Do you play an instrument at all?
I play with my organ. That's probably the best thing I play with.
Oh, Paul. Okay, well,
I play the piano and the organ, church services, synagogue services, but no, I'm not a musician. I'm a lover of the lifestyle and the music.
You want to write Paul Aaron, you can either write him as Paul Aaron, or you can write him as Cowboy Joe.
P.O. Box 3311, Church Street Station, New York, 10008. Tom, you mean no one else wants to call?
Well, I think they're so just riveted to just hearing your voice right now. I think they're just nonplussed. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Will you give us one more version of Ragtime Cowboy Joe?
Well, I can sing either the Brooklyn. Let me see, people know the chorus out here, especially in Wyoming, but they don't know some of the verses. And if you listen to the words of the verses, you can tell it's a New York song.
Okay, let's fade out with a little bit of the verses here.
Oh, okay. Dressed up every Sunday in his Sunday clothes, he beats it for the village where he always goes, and every girl in town is Joe's, 'cause he's a ragtime bear. When he starts his feeling on the dance hall floor, no one but a lunatic would start a war. Wise men know his 44, makes men dance for fair. He always sings reggae music to the cattle as he swings, back and forward in the saddle on a horse, pretty good horse, got a syncopated gator, and you ought to hear the meter to the roar of his repeater. I will run, yes run, when I hear him come, because the Western folks all know he's a high-falutin' tooth, son of gun from all around. Ragtime cowboy, talk about your cowboy, ragtime cowboy Joe. Yeehaw!
Well, I tell you, New York's loss right now is Cheyenne's gain, Paul. Yeah, I want you to thank you for being on the show tonight.
My pleasure, Tom.
Take care.
Okay.
All right, we'll look for the article in the Rocky Mountain News. Coming up next hour, Open Talk. I bet you thought it would never arrive. You believe this guy? 10 years singing that song 10 times a night or a day on his show. You gotta know. That's got to be hot radio. 861-8255, our number. Open talk next hour. I've got a couple things I'll throw out to you. We'll see what happens and try to get my spurs disengaged from the wires underneath this table here as we rock along on News Radio 85 KOA Denver.